Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, owner and operator of Fig Photo LLC, and today we're going to decode the building blocks of the exposure triangle: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, the holy trinity of photography. Let's get started. So your camera shutter speed refers to the length and time your camera stays open, allowing light to enter and expose the image sensor. The longer the length or slower your shutter speed, the more light is let in, making your image brighter and capturing motion blur. Now, motion blur can produce beautiful results in capturing landscapes. I myself love using this technique when shooting waterfalls because the motion blur allows me to capture an image that feels like it's alive, that the water is still moving in that image. Now, the shorter length or faster shutter speed will actually limit motion blur. You can even get rid of it completely and freeze moments in time. But this also means that the darker your image will be overall, because now less light is being allowed in. Lastly, your shutter speed is measured in fractions of a second. The smaller the fraction, the faster your shutter speed opens and closes. The larger the fraction, the slower it opens and closes. It might sound a little confusing at first, but the more you practice with your camera, the more it will become second nature to set your shutter speed to exactly your specific needs for all your favorite projects. Aperture determines the amount of light that enters your camera through its lens. It controls the range of sharpness or depth of field. It does this by rotating these little blades that are inside your lens. I don't think you're not going to be able to see it on here. But they're measured in f-stops, and we'll talk about that later. A wide open aperture will result in a brighter image overall with a shallower depth of field. Now, personally, I like to shoot with a low aperture. I like to make my subjects pop, and a shallow depth of field allows me to separate them from my background and foreground, driving my viewer's focus where I want it. Now, a smaller aperture will give you a darker image overall, but with a more full depth of range, allowing more of the image to be in focus. This is great for landscapes, so you can get all the textures of everything in your scene. Lastly, your camera's aperture is measured in f-stops. Now, the lower your f-stop, the wider your aperture. The more light is let in through the lens, the more shallow depth of field. The higher the f-stop, the opposite effect. Remember, you may sacrifice how much of your image is sharp and in focus with a wide open aperture. For example, if you're working on a product photography shoot and you want a nice blurred background or bokeh but still have all of your subject in focus, you'll want to use a technique called photo stacking here. This is where you take multiple images of the same subject in different points of focus and stack them together, and you can achieve this Photoshop or any photo manipulation software to get the desired look that you want. And finally, we come to ISO, which refers to your image sensor's sensitivity to light. It's a great way for balancing exposure and helpful in low light situations. High ISO is an easy way to brighten up your image. When your shutter speed and your aperture are already set, can't really do much about the light source that you have, but it comes at a cost. Can produce digital noise in your image, making it look grainy. Now, some photographers actually prefer this grainy look because it gives an old film vibe, and that's their style. So digital noise may not always be a bad thing. It all depends on what you're shooting, the story that you're telling, and what your client may or may not want. Digital film cameras are getting better every year, so be sure to test the limits of your camera's ISO. This way you know exactly when the digital noise or film grain will be introduced. Digital noise isn't always a showstopper either. You can very easily smooth out film grain in most post-processing software. All right, that was our quick video on the exposure triangle: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, the holy trinity of photography. Hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to stay up to date on our latest videos. We're coming out with some really good stuff this year. Well, I hope it's really good. And, remember, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep creating. We'll see you next time. Bye.